Revolutionary greetings, comrades. We continue discussing the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. We have recorded 2 videos about the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. We said from the beginning that we are discussing the constitution of the Zimbabwe Communist Party as adopted at its first Congress in 2019 December in Bulawayo. Lokho siqhubeka sikhuluma ngeZimbabwe Communist Party ukuthi iyini iZimbabwe Communist Party, senzela ukuthi sazakale ukuthi singobani. Silibandla lamakomanisi asizibekanga kulezi zikhundla esikizo, zahamba emhlanganweni omkhulu ukuyakhetha ubukhokheli, zabale program esi-adoptileyo, kanti ke futhi sa-adopta isisekelo senhlanganiso i-constitution. So ke we continue then discussing the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. In the first video, we said the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party is to build in Zimbabwe a Marxist-Leninist vanguard party of the working class and the peasantry, and to lead these 2 classes together with the stratum of revolutionary intellectuals to capture state power and to build a national democratic economy in Zimbabwe as a transitional stage towards the building of socialism and communism. We did explain this point. We spent about 20 or 25 minutes explaining this point. Then in the second video, we said point number 2, as revolutionary nationalists, we understand the importance of national unity regardless of ethnic origin, but mindful of the diversity of the Zimbabwean people. Revolutionary nationalism linked to devolution of power creates an ideological balance and a driving force for building the national economy and for uniting the country against either economic or military aggression. We also explained this point in our last video. That was the second video. And then the last video, we said, as Pan-Africanists, we see ourselves as part of the movement which will bring economic liberation to the whole of Africa. As communists, we see that liberation in class terms is centered around the interests of the working class and peasantry. Okwanamhlanje, we are looking as proletarian internationalists. We see ourselves as the Zimbabwean contingent of the world movement, fighting for the global revolutionary transition from capitalism at its imperialist stage to socialism. So let's try to explain this point. What do we mean when we say as proletarian internationalists? Because we are engaged in an international struggle. The class struggle is international. We forged unity during the liberation struggle when we're fighting against colonialism. And we've said that as we're fighting against colonialism, what we noted, our liberation movements postponed the class question. So the issue was, let us first dismantle colonialism. You will remember President Nyerere was saying, once you dismantle colonialism, everything will follow, meaning that economic prosperity will follow, which was not the case. So classes, social classes still exist. In Africa, social classes still exist. In Zimbabwe, social classes exist in the world. And we cannot win a class struggle on our own in Zimbabwe without building unity with other progressive internationalist organizations. This is why Zatitina Singamakomanis eZimbabwe, we belong to the international communists. We said there's one communist party, one communist party global with different chapters. Of course, this point can be debated. But we take the position that there's one political party with the different chapters, and to explain to we are in Zimbabwe ourselves as the Zimbabwe Communist Party. So as revolutionary internationalists, it means that we must contribute in the fight against imperialism. We must contribute in the fight against the dominance of our liberal forces. We must contribute in the fight against our oppressors. So it is therefore important that we build this unity across the globe. And we emphasize what Lenin said, which guides us, workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. This is why, as the Zimbabwe Communist Party and as communists in general, we are building this unity amongst the workers in a country like South Africa, where there's migrant workers. They are South African workers, and we know with the experience of South Africa that because of the economic situation, we find our workers are now divided along nationalities. Lingama migrant, we are locals. So as revolutionary internationalists, we need to build this unity, because it is only when workers are united, when peasants are united, that we can defeat capitalism. Secondly, abantu abaningi bahlala bebuza bethi, Comrade Mabhena, wena you seem to be focusing on Palestine, you seem to be focusing on Western Sahara, you seem to be focusing on Southern Cameroon, but you are not focusing on Mtwagazi. Our position is this: we are in solidarity with the oppressed peoples of the world, wherever they are. We are in solidarity with the weak against the powerful. We have articulated the position of the people of Palestine, how they have been oppressed. We have articulated the position of the people of Western Sahara. We have articulated, and we continue to articulate, the position of the people of Swaziland, who, by the way, do not have a right to belong to political parties and participate in the electoral process. While in Zimbabwe, sekhala ngokuthi ama-elections are rigged, in Swaziland, iPudemo is not a legal organization. The Communist Party of Swaziland is not a legal organization. They do not participate in the electoral processes. eSwaziland kusebenza into okuthiwa yitikundla system. You have seen ngama-elections eSwaziland ukuthi you line behind your parliamentary candidate. So this is why we are therefore in solidarity with such individuals that are oppressed. So when we build this international solidarity with the oppressed peoples of the world, they also give us solidarity in Zimbabwe as we fight to dismantle ZANU-ism. Just as Umkhonto weSizwe and the Zebra fought together in Rhodesia, just as Algeria, Sudan, Soviet Union, Cuba, and others provided military training to our liberation armies, Zebra and ZANU. It was because there was this international solidarity. We understood, or those before us understood, to defeat colonialism, to defeat white minority rule in Rhodesia, then you needed to build solidarity with other international organizations that were fighting for freedom as well. You remember that when the Organization of African Unity was established, there was a liberation committee, and a part of the role that a Organization of African Unity was doing as it was established was to assist our countries to give practical solidarity to countries that were still under colonialism. So now that we are engaged in a class struggle and in completing our liberation, it is important, therefore, as international, as proletarian internationalists, to understand that it is critical that we build this unit. So we see ourselves, as we say in our constitution, in defining the purpose, that we see ourselves as the Zimbabwean contingent of the world movement fighting for the global revolutionary transition from capitalism at its imperialist stage. As I move to conclusion, part of the problem that the opposition in Zimbabwe has faced, particularly from 2000, while we all agree that the opposition has been winning elections in Zimbabwe but has not been capturing power, it's because, as we explained in the first video, that the opposition was seen as agents of imperialist forces, right? So if you're an opposition party in Africa, you get isolated if you are seen to be advancing the interests of the imperialist forces. This is why when we're in the MDC, we received this criticism. Now you are stooges of the Americans, you are the stooges of the Britain, you are opposed to land reform, you are anti-African, and all these manner of things that were said of the opposition. So even if the opposition won the elections, progressive forces, pan-Africanist organizations within the African continent, Poltarian internationalists globally would not support the agenda of the opposition in Zimbabwe. So it is important that if we are to dismantle if we are to dismantle ZANU-ism, we must contest ZANU-PF ideologically, because ZANU-PF has been claiming that it is pan-African, which it is not. And as the Zimbabwe Communist Party, it is our responsibility, it is our task to expose ZANU-PF for what it is. ZANU-PF has never been pan-Africanist, because you cannot claim to be pan-Africanist when your party is built guided by tribalism or a question of ethnicity. You cannot be pan-Africanist. You want to favor one ethnic group over the other, and then you claim to be a pan-Africanist. You cannot, if you are a pan-Africanist, commit murder, commit a genocide against the Africans in your own country, and then you turn around and say you are a pan-Africanist. So these are some of the issues that we must expose ZANU-PF for what it is. You cannot work with Israel to rig elections. You remember in the 2008 elections that in Nikuv, an Israel company was alleged to have assisted ZANU-PF in rigging elections. So you cannot, during the day, claim to be pro-Palestinian, supporting the struggle of the Palestinian people, but in the middle of the night, you are doing business with Israel. So it is us as communists, we should expose ZANU-PF for what it is in Zimbabwe, if we are to complete our liberation, that indeed ZANU-PF was established as a project of imperialist forces in 1963 to curtail the influence of the Soviet Union in this part of the world. So going forward, the Zimbabwe Communist Party therefore wants to build unity across the globe, wants to work with the progressive organizations to rebuild the Zimbabwean economy, because as communists, it is a huge embarrassment for us. Young people keep on leaving the country. We have natural resources, right? But young people keep on leaving the country. Mthuli Ncube, in his budget, the Minister of Finance, now is talking of taxing abantu that play super bet. Abanye benu seliphila vele ngokubheja ibhora, and Mthuli Ncube says, wait a minute, abantu laba they are making money, let's find a way ukuthi siba tax. And the one comrade, when was discussing in another group, was saying good thing, but the government, as proposal Mthuli Ncube, does not understand ukuthi uze uwine ku superbet uyabe uspend emalini uinvest abona abaku asebe ku timele ukuthi you have won, say, $2,000, therefore you need to be taxed. You now have to tax abantu that are renting a chair in a salon, or do you want to tax everyone ogundinwele in the streets. That is the desperation. And as the Zimbabwe Communist Party was saying, you cannot rebuild an economy when you want to suck every cent from citizens and you say you are a Pan-Africanist. If you are a Pan-Africanist, you build an economy which is democratic, where every person, every Zimbabwean participate in the economy, where you deal decisively with corruption, you increase production, because there cannot be an economy if there is no production. So as I conclude, this is the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. The fourth purpose, as proletarian internationalists, we see ourselves as the Zimbabwean contingent of the world movement fighting for the global revolutionary transition from capitalism at its imperialist stage to socialism. And we have defined, assuming the Zimbabwe Communist Party comes into power today, we are saying socialism, a transition from the current economy to a socialist economy, it requires a preparation. You cannot just switch like you will do in your TV remote control, which are now switching from this economic arrangement to a socialist economic arrangement. It doesn't work like that. So we need to prepare. Right, we need to prepare the workers, we need to prepare the peasant. And how do we prepare the workers and peasants? First and foremost is that there must be production. Young people, old people, everyone who's able to work must be in the industry, working, the production. Then we raise the class consciousness of the workers and the peasant to understand the class struggle. Because part of the problem that we had in 2000 during the chaotic land reform program, the land reform program was hijacked by ZANU-PF because Basebe lose political power to the MDC. So they then went to grab farms without preparing the mass of the people. They did not consider what skills did the people that were grabbing land ababelai. Right, when your skill is in crop farming, this is the land that we are going to give you, and we are going to support you as government, because Amapun were being supported. There were banks that were supporting Amapun. Because there's no one who can fail. If you are given money, say $100,000 US dollars, you are given a farm $100,000 US dollars, you are given workers that you don't pay, you cannot fail to produce. So this is what Amapun were doing, because abantu abamnyama, even migrant labor, were used as slaves in the farms. So as the Zimbabwe Communist Party was saying, transition to socialism is that we must be prepared. There must be a finance, there must be a production, so that workers understand and they produce what is sufficient to us, and then the surplus is sold international markets for us to earn a foreign currency. So this is what the Zimbabwe Communist Party stands for. We will continue to discuss in the next video as we complete discussing the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Siyabonga kakhulu, amandla comrades.